Locals aren't the only ones caught in the crossfire of fighting in Ethiopia. The UN says 96,000 Eritrean refugees who've been living in camps in the Tigray region for nearly 10 years are running out of food.
The camps will now have run out of food supplies, making hunger and malnutrition a real danger. A warning we have been issuing since the conflict began nearly a month ago. We are also alarmed at unconfirmed reports of attacks, abductions, and forced recruitments at the refugee camps. UNHCR strongly reiterates its call for safety and security of refugees.
Ethiopia's government has been fighting the Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF. It used to be the ruling party until Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed took office in 2018. Over the past few weeks, his government has placed restrictions on telephone communications and access to the Tigray region.
According to reports, a senior Iranian Revolutionary Guards commander was killed in a strike near Iraq-Syria border. The commander is yet to be identified, but reports said that he was killed alongside 3 other men who were traveling with him in the same vehicle. It is believed that the strike happened last week. The vehicle was carrying weapons across the Iraqi border and was hit after it had entered Syrian territory. Reports also added that Iran-backed Iraqi paramilitary groups helped retrieve the bodies. The incident is likely to further escalate tensions in West Asia. It comes just days after Iranian nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh was assassinated in Tehran in an attack that Iran has blamed on Israel. Recently, Israel launched air raids against what it called a wide range of Syrian and Iranian targets in Syria, signaling that it will pursue its policy of striking Iranian targets in the region as US President Donald Trump prepares to leave office.
Hospital for coronavirus patients has opened its doors in the Spanish capital, but the inauguration was held without staff and was met by protesters dubbing it a vanity project. Demonstrators warned Madrid's Isabel Sendal facilities not even ready to take patients, but it was built in 100 days at a cost of €100 million, twice the original budget. It has 240 beds, but just a sixth of the workers needed to operate. Hundreds of medics rallied outside the building, noting the money should have been spent on existing hospitals, which have suffered years of budget cuts.
In the days after the deadly crash, Mahinder Singh was confronted with what he'd done. I can still see them in front of my truck, and I tried to slam the brakes on them and I couldn't stop it, he said. Why did they have to be there? Why didn't they get out of the way? In April, Singh was behind the wheel when his truck slammed into 4 police officers on the Eastern Freeway. All 4 died. It was the largest loss of life in a single incident in the force's history. Today, the 48-year-old pleaded guilty to 10 charges in the Melbourne Magistrates Court, including culpable driving causing death. Singh spoke sparingly, but through his lawyer reached out to his victims' families. Mr Singh would like to be clear that he's very sorry for the deaths of the 4 police officers. They are innocent people, and he pleads guilty now.
The captain in the deadly 2019 dive boat fire is charged with manslaughter. Federal prosecutors allege 67-year-old Jeffrey Boylan caused the deaths of the 34 people. They cite misconduct, negligence, and inattention to his duties. The indictment says Boylan failed to have a night watch and didn't conduct sufficient fire drills. The 34 victims died when fire raged through the Conception, which sank off the Santa Barbara coast on Labor Day weekend. And Boylan is charged with 34 counts. Each count carries 10 years in prison. An NTSB investigation found an overloaded electrical outlet may have caused that deadly fire.
Buried amongst charred bushland, a tail, all that's left of this training helicopter. The bodies of skilled Goulburn pilot Nicholas Brink and his trainee student Andrew Goldman found nearby. The helicopter took off from Goulburn Aerodrome just after 3 p.m. yesterday. It was tracked to Kingpin Mountain east of Marulan before disappearing off the radar. And when it failed to return to base by 6:45 that evening, the Rescue Coordination Centre was called in to help. A huge mission in the dark that resumed at first light this morning. The crash site too difficult to access on foot. Police forced to go in from the air. Loved ones of experienced pilot 36-year-old Nicholas Brink arriving at the site desperate for answers.
Over to India's Navy Chief Admiral Karambir Singh, who has said that attempts to change the status quo in our northern borders have significantly increased complexities in security situation. Referring to the situation along the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh, the Navy Chief said that the Indian Navy surveillance aircraft P-81 and Heron drones are deployed in the region, and the naval aircraft held several sorties along the line of actual control. Admiral Singh also added that Navy's activities doing in close coordination with the Army and the Indian Air Force. The Navy Chief also said that the force is alive to various threats in the maritime domain, including from China, and is fully ready to deal with them. Admiral Singh further said that they have an SOP ready to tackle the situation if there is an infringement by the Chinese research vessels.
Sheets upon sheets of counterfeit cash. Police in Peru showed off a stash of nearly $6 million in counterfeit US notes on Wednesday after they were seized in an operation in Lima. One person was arrested following the raid on Tuesday. According to local media, the individual detained in the operation was arrested for prior counterfeit offences. Local police say Peru is considered to be one of the main countries in the world where dollars are forged, surpassing Colombia.
One of Valéry Giscard d'Estaing's final public appearances came at the funeral of another former French leader, Jacques Chirac, in September last year. And now it's time for the nation to pay its respects to him. A minute of silence in both the lower and the upper houses of the French Parliament. It was at around 11 p.m. Paris time on Wednesday that the nation was informed of the death of Valéry Giscard d'Estaing at the age of 94. The former president had been hospitalized several times this year with heart problems, but according to family members, he died shortly after contracting COVID-19. Reactions have come in from across the political spectrum. In his own political family, the centrist leader of the Democratic Movement Party, François Bayrou, said Giscard d'Estaing dominated almost naturally with his presence, his distinction, his language, his liveliness and intuitions.
All right. I guess this is the thing now, right? So be prepared to see these everywhere. Ah, dear.
They've cut it in?